Good morning and welcome to Dateline New Haven. I'm your host, Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make New Haven tick. Nothing ticks better than Pundit Friday, which we're about to begin here in the WNHH studio.
Yes.
With the #1 pundits in the media universe, most of them. This week, we got a week off for Babs Earls Ivy and Markeisha Ricks, so we're not going to have all of our flame here.
There you go.
All of our passion and insight. We love them both and looking forward to reuniting with them maybe next week. But in the meantime, we do have some of the stars here. We got the Queen of Quippery and Quintessence of Compassion, La Voz Hispana publisher Norma Rodriguez-Reyes. We got the WNH station manager and Heavy D Donald Trump devotee, Harry Droz.
Harry.
The bravest man in New Haven who claims he doesn't have a bunker. But we're gonna see if there's a second opinion on that one. And we have, last but not least, the conqueror of cannabis commerce.
Okay.
The bright light in the New Haven night.
Okay.
The straight shooter from Bermuda. The mystical and metaphorical man on the money.
Okay.
The tackler of tempestuousness and titan of temperance. Woo! The banisher of bilious bullies.
Yeah.
The prince of pleasantries and punctuality.
All right.
The sorcerer of scientific solution. The blessed beatboxer of banksters and bacchanalians. The just-in-time judge of jackals and japery. The sentinel of serenity, sincerity, and salvation. The poobah of unparalleled political passion, perspicacity, righteous reaper of restitution, Mr. Top 2%er. The exalted expostulator of extemporis exegesis. The bossa nova, mover, and shaker.
Okay.
The griot of the grassy knoll.
Okay.
The conquistador of cussing criminals. The keeper of the cure. The weaver of wellness and wisdom. The mellifluous and meritocratic miner of melody. The plow driver of peace. The driver out of demons, discord, and dissonance. He is the optimizer of opulence and opportunity. The undertaker of unfiltered utterance. The erudite earl of ergonomics. The liberated lion of lucidity. The maniacal monarch of mercy. The blistering barbecuer of brain-dead bozos. Our executioner of existential enemies. The alchemist of assonance and alliteration. The zealous zapper of xenophobia. The sagacious sergeant sultan of swing. The quintessential quipper of quotable quackery. The grandee of grandiloquence and gastronomics. Our prized protector against pusillanimity.
Longer than
the distinguished Duke of Diplomacy and Détente. The king of conspiracy concoction, deacon of the dozens, bodhisattva, battle rap, missionary of modesty, mesmerizer, the master shaman of the shoreline, potentate of 360 state, recognized ringleader of risque repartee, eighth wonder of the world, wizard of wise guy, waggery, capo of casual conversation, first name in flame, daring don of dope deliberation, the sultan of spit, West Indian whisperer of wonk, emperor of explosive exposition, esteemed elucidator of ebonics. He's the top tier talent from Trinidad and Tobago.
Whoa.
The dap-tone deliverer of decency. The maximal media maestro. Bodacious, bold-faced barista of bop. The chess master of chill. The primo practitioner of pop prestidigitation. The beyond just somewhat honorable high priest of hip-hop, right reverend of rapture, reigning racketeer of riffitude, sanctified slayer of the slow-witted, never late for supper, decorated, dazzling, and indefatigable dunker and dryer of the dinner dishes. Maximum mixologist Joe Ugly of the Joe Ugly Show.
After
the morning.
After all of that, you still forgot one.
What?
Executive producer to, of course, Problems by Caleb.
All right. We're going to read about that later today.
Absolutely.
Welcome, everyone. It's the crazy season, or as one person put it on the station this week, famous clarity, the silly season.
Yes.
It is the lead up to Tuesday, August 14th, the primaries for state office. And this year is the busiest year we've had in a long time, more than a decade, because a lot of top jobs are open. The governor's gone. Lieutenant governor is going to be gone. The attorney general is going to be gone. The treasurer is going to be gone. Those are top jobs, and the baby boomers have been itching to get into them. A couple of millennials running, but mostly, or Gen X's, but mostly it's baby boomers trying to succeed the baby boomers. Any thoughts about next Tuesday? What are we going to see, folks?
Well, I think, I saw Ned Lamont in New Haven. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, he found out how to get here. His GPS screwed up, and they ended up landing him in New Haven.
Well, there's a picture of him in one of the local newspapers of him speaking to someone who had a New Hallville T-shirt on. And we said on my show this morning, let me give Kotick full credit. He looked like he was asking the guy, what is a New Hallville?
Well, Ned Lamont's running for governor. He's endorsed candidate, and he does have a headquarters here. And he has the endorsement of the mayor on Willow Street.
On Willow?
And he was in New Hallville once, but there's been a deliberate strategy until the last week to keep the talk of the Democratic ticket away from New Haven. They're worried that the cities are going to vote for Joe Ganim, who's a challenger from Bridgeport. Instead of fighting for it, they waited until a week or two before this election to open an office in Bridgeport, the state's largest city. And they're worried, and it's so backwards. I think that's shown because Ned Lamont's largely favored to win next Tuesday. He's probably going to win with like 70% of the vote, only because the only opponent is Ganim, who's running a great campaign, great ads, but doesn't have much of a field operation and went to jail, and there's not much chance he's going to win. He's doing way beyond better than people thought he would. But Ned is, every time he does anything, he loses votes. It should be easy for him. And instead of learning for how Ganim's getting under his skin to run better in November, Lamont's chickening. So now he's running with Susan Bisowitz for lieutenant governor. Right. And the cities aren't happy about that. So that's one thing, because they want Eva Bermuda Zimmerman. But secondly, instead of taking the fight to Ganim, which you got to do because he's going to be running against the Republican in November who's going to kick the stuff out of him with a lot of money, he's got to be tough. But Ganim's got him running scared. Ganim has people in Bridgeport who are upset he's running for governor instead of mayor. In any military or political strategy, you know that if you're running against someone who isn't as strong as you are, you go to the one place they're strong and take them on there rather than have them come onto your turf.
Right.
He waited all his time to go to Bridgeport when I'm told on the ground there he could have made headway and even weakened his vote in Bridgeport. Instead, it's almost like they're seeding the city because it makes the Democrats worry. And all I hear about Lamont, I never hear any excitement among Democrats about Lamont, people for him. They're so worried about November. They feel like Ganim's going to do much better than people thought. Lamont has done nothing to learn from this primary. He's chicken. He puts out these lame ads with tons of money where he's not even looking at the camera and driving through some bougie neighborhood.
Yep.
And Ganim's out there like a fighter.
Yep.
And what is this going to say for November?
What does it really say about the candidate who avoid taking on his opponent head on? I mean, here it is. Dude, that makes me question, are you going to fight for my issues?
This is no layup in November. There are people who are mad about Donald Trump who are going to vote for Ned Lamont, but there are a lot of people mad about it what the Democrats have done with taxes, and it's going to be tough to get. I know it depends who the Republicans have the most fascinating governor primary.
There's not one Republican right now could talk about taxes. Come on, for real? After what just went down, coming down from a federal level, Harry. I mean, come on.
But what they were just talking about, what Paul just described about Ganim and Lamont is exactly the same thing that's happening with Susan Bisowitz and Eva.
That's the lieutenant governor. That's the Democratic lieutenant governor race.
Are we going to discuss that later?
No. I just wanted to let our listeners know what you're talking about.
Because what's happening is I see Susan's entire campaign in the suburbs, not in the cities.
Now, that's more direct. That's even truer, Norma, than the Ned Lamont campaign. Ned's done some events here. All the people all the politicians and activists in New Haven are for Eva Bermuda Zimmerman. So you're right. I mean, Susan has deliberately stayed out of the city. But what I'm hearing is that she's in a strong position to win the primary because, again, this might not help them in November when you need the city vote. You can't win without a strong city vote. If a Democrat cannot win without 18,000 margin in New Haven. Susan has specifically rounded up so much suburban support. I mean, basically every aardvark that ever crosses into Oxford or Avon has been like forced to sign an I endorse Susan Bisowitz lieutenant governor release.
Well,
it's going to be
when they go
she's going to have strong.
We'll see what happens when they go in that booth. Because at the end of the day, the people could say they're voting for someone. They could say they're supporting.
I think she's got the support in the suburbs. She's worked there.
Yeah, I mean, she's worked there.
So has Eva. Eva has worked a lot more than Susan.
Norma, can you get in the I don't think it's fair to say she's worked a lot more than Susan just because you haven't seen Susan here.
Well,
so I get the events every day.
From experience.
Right, no, Susan has been in every town.
That does say you're speaking from experience. That's right. If we don't see you in the city, why should we think that you're out here working? We're only going to judge you based on what we see or hear.
By the way, I have unnamed sources that tell me
Alex
Lamont
Jones
was driven here because this is the only place they have the batteries for that robot.
You guys are terrible.
But my point wasn't that. See, we're talking about two different things. About if you don't see Susan here, that doesn't mean Susan's not working everywhere else. It means she's not working in the cities.
But no, it's coming from Norma's standpoint, where she says that when Norma makes a comment of Eva is working harder than her.
Eva's working hard. Eva's taking it to where she did great in that debate. She gave her Susan the taste of her own medicine, calling her a coward. But Susan has been working night and day in those suburbs.
But as Norma said, and I'm going to echo,
working night and day in the cities.
Right.
So the thing is, based on where we are right now, and where we're talking about the cities right now, I don't see Susan Bisowitz. So how can I say that she's over here working? At the end of the day, you know what I'm looking for when I go to cast my vote? Do you represent my interests?
Right. So Susan's written you off, Joe Ugly.
Exactly.
She said, I
So
don't
why
care
would
if
I
you vote
support
for
her?
me.
Right.
But she's saying, I care whether Avon, Brantford,
well,
Guilford
I hope she
vote
has
for me.
enough vote out there that's going to get her over the line.
Well, here's
I hope
the
so,
dilemma.
Guess what? She can't just ignore the cities.
Well,
and
here's
think
the
all of a sudden
dilemma.
we're gonna
She can't
fall in
ignore the
line.
cities and win in November.
No.
The Lamont by Switz Kick It are going to have a big problem
And that's the
in
whole
November.
fall in line mentality.
But for the primary, I think you're right. Not the right. Eva has worked really hard. Eva Burma's museum. She's 31. But Susan's about 50, whatever. Been in office a long time. Susan's got those decades of networks in the suburbs. I do believe they're going to vote for her. And there are some races in the northern suburbs, north central suburbs that are going to get people to the polls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you're right. We'll see what happens on election day. Can the cities turn out in August? It's hard to get a good turnout in August. But we'll see.
You know, we're seeing a big change in that in the last year and a half in politics, where people did not think that you can get big turnouts in special elections. This is across the country.
Yeah.
You know, where they did not think that we'll have special elections would have big turnouts, huge turnouts.
In Ohio, they had 90%.
Exactly,
Wow.
90%. Look what happened in Ferguson, Missouri.
And to your point, I was just today down at 200 Orange Street where the city clerk and register of voters are, and I've heard that these aren't official numbers, but there's someone who takes the paper, said that it's a busy election for absentee ballots, which definitely that's not evidence, that's not numbers, but they said they definitely
people are requesting those, so that means.
And I think in November you're going to get turnout. People and I think it's all about Trump.
Absolutely.
I think Trump has the country fired up in both directions.
And
that's why I'm going to vote.
And
wait, you're going to vote because who do you vote for because of Trump? You vote in the Democratic primary, right?
Absolutely, I'm a
so
Democrat.
Is Trump on the ballot?
I'm a registered Democrat, and I'm voting for Eva, and I'm voting for Ganem. Pretty simple.
Well, Trump and Ganem are pretty similar in terms of using their office to enrich themselves.
No.
If you're talking about having actual personality and not being a robot, then yes.
I know Ganem. I have to say, Ganem's ads. I don't know if you guys agree with me. Ganem's ads are by far the best ads anyone's put out in Connecticut this election.
Is this the one with him in the boxing ring? I heard about
that
this.
one's amazing. But even his more anodyne ads,
yeah.
He's out there. Someone was explaining to me today. Someone who's African American was saying, I look at Ned's ads. First of all, he doesn't look in the camera.
Right.
Drives no car, sitting in a room with nobody else there. Doesn't say anything. But she also said he drives to the neighborhood. Has no relation to me. So you got one where Ganem's in the ring boxing. He has substance sprinkled through about what he wants to do for cities, but it's showing him caring, fighting with great music.
Right.
And then on his more like here I am meeting people, he's out in all different kinds of settings, and he's obviously relating to people, and you're seeing his face, you're seeing their face. And that struck me when that woman said that to me this morning.
Ganem, right? He actually seems like a person who has chosen to deal with all types of people.
Correct.
Right? Not because
Ned hires them.
Well, there you go. Ned chooses to deal with certain types of people. Ganem deals with all types of people.
But does he hire them, or does he have his managers hired?
Yes,
so
managers
don't have to come
but
close?
and more specifically, I mean, Lamont has a very elite Greenwich perspective, and Yale School of Management. I hear people the one person I've ever heard enthusiastic about Ned said he went to SOM School of Management. He knows like how to do the right decisions. It's kind of idea that noblesse oblige. We know better because we're the business guys, and we'll swallow what you have to do for politics, but then we'll make the right decisions in a vacuum.
And then we have politicians coming through here all the time, so I get to read their body language when they're around all types of people.
Right.
And Ganem was relaxed.
He really is.
Oh God, this guy came in on my show. It was pouring down rain. I thought for sure he was gonna cancel. Oh no, he showed up.
He came in a blizzard to New Haven.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah,
he showed up, knocked on the door. He's like, "Oh man, I'm here."
So what do you notice in Harry when Ned Lamont came in?
I think it's very sad, about Ganem's second chance, because obviously he would be the best governor for the state.
I think so.
What do you base that on, Norma?
Compare the fact. I'm sorry.
What do you base the fact he'd be the best governor?
The fact that look at what he did with Bridgeport.
What did he do?
Okay, he took it out of bankruptcy.
It was not
and
bankruptcy.
I think,
Well, it was heading
almost bankruptcy.
It was at the knocking on bankruptcy doors.
And he gave builders all sorts of big projects that then he put money in his pocket.
About. Yeah. If it hadn't been for that, okay, Ganem would have been the best choice for Connecticut. Mm-hmm. But then, let's think about we always tend to choose the lesser of all the evils. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that Lamont is the lesser, because let's think of what's going to happen in November with all these millionaires running in November.
Right. So he's not necessarily the less of all evils. When we're looking at the big picture, if it's anyone, Ganem is the one who you look at and say, hey, you know what, let's
but
look
people won't give him an opportunity because our people out there, the voters, the majority of the voters are not second chance people. They're not willing to give you a second chance.
You know, I hear that publicly, but privately, when I speak one-on-one with people, like I go to the gym and I talk with people, and you know what, and this is from different backgrounds. I talk with people that I know differently, and they said, you know what, I like Joe Ganem. You know, I like what he.
Well, you know what would be interesting, Joe, based on you saying that, Joe. I think what's going to be interesting on Tuesday is I think this will be a test of whether someone's personality and fantastic media with little money, because some of the stuff that didn't cost money was really good too, whether that can win in a primate over sending out the troops. Now, they're not going to be enthusiastic troops for Lamont, but there will be troops because all the unions are formed. Unite Here, right? That matters. But when Unite Here gets a lot of votes out, and the unions get a lot of votes out. You're right; they're not going to be pumped the same way.
Enthusiasm gap for Lamont.
Yep,
honestly. No question. Yep. No, Lamont starts so much ahead. So the question is, how much does that enthusiasm gap get countered? Because I don't see any ground operation again.
I'm not thinking about the primary. I'm thinking about the Big Show.
Oh yeah.
Where you need that enthusiasm.
Right. No, Big Show, he's dead.
He's gonna.
Big Show, he's dead unless the Republicans blow it and put Herbst.
You have people fall in line and.
Right,
cast
exactly.
votes.
You're right.
No, Harry, I think you're right. For the general election, there's going to be a huge problem for Lamont. Because as we learned with Linda McMahon and Tom Foley, who spent up to $50 million a campaign, that doesn't buy you love.
Right.
But in this primary, I also think it's going to be interesting what Joe was saying, because I wonder whether commercials will make a difference. People know so little. The other thing, though, is, Joe hasn't gotten out of Bridgeport much. He really hasn't. Yeah, a lot of his. I look at his daily schedule. Like every day he's in Bridgeport doing events. Like usually 2 out of 3. That makes me wonder if there's. I don't see any evidence of a ground campaign in much of the state. This is an air campaign, and that's what he's working with. And it'll be interesting to see. His air is so good, and I believe it's so good. It'll be interesting to see whether that because what the insiders are saying, he's going to do better than people thought.
When you watch television, that's all you do is one commercial, 1/32 after another. They just run on. They do not make a pause and start on the next one. Right. No, they keep on going and going and going. These commercials. You know what's very interesting? If you do a cost analysis on how much money these folks have invested in TV, and we're talking about mainstream TV, because none of the candidates bought any TV in the Latino media nor radio. So they didn't go, and then they complained that the Latinos don't vote. They didn't spend any money at all, none of them, on Latino media.
Maybe they don't care
reaching
if Latinos
out
vote.
To the Latino community. And then what pisses me off is then they have the audacity to say that the Latinos don't vote.
And
but if they're watching TV, they also could be listening to radio on Dateline New Haven, which is what you're listening to on WNHH 103.5 FM, live streamed at newhavenmen.org. Joe Ugly, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. that is more important, to be quite honest. No, I'm not joking. A good tag will go a long way, buddy. But
will it go a long way for Joe Ganem?
Well, you see,
I think it will.
I think they're gonna take the Hispanic vote. They take the black
vote for granted.
Yes. And the Hispanics who do go vote.
Why are you pointing at her? Aren't you Hispanic too?
The Hispanics. Okay. She's la voz.
Depends on the issue. It depends how Trump is feeling at the moment.
No, but I think the Hispanics that will go vote usually vote Democrat, even though because they're not educated enough in the political system, and nobody has taken the time to educate them on the political system.
Is he right, Norma, that Latinos are too...
honest.
So, Norma, is he right that Latinos are too dumb to realize their self-interest isn't pointing together in Democrats?
That's not what he's saying.
To be educated like Harry Drost.
In terms of being educated in terms of the political process here in the United States and in Connecticut, because many of the countries that they come from, they don't have elections every year. Over here, they have an election almost every single year for different positions.
There is one.
And then, plus the other thing, here in the United States, they don't fine you if you don't vote. In all these other Latin American countries, if you don't vote, you get fined.
I hate that idea.
Plus, there's privileges associated to
voting. Right? So you have in different countries, if you go vote, you get a percentage off on registering for this or registering for that. So when they come to this system that is totally different, that almost doesn't even care if they vote,
No, don't want them to.
Or don't want them to.
Very happy that you don't show up.
It's just different. You have to start educating everybody.
But you know, the other thing, the Latinos that are educated politically, you know, they're many of them are anti-establishment. But what happens nowadays if you go against the establishment? You know, you are.
Well, no, that's changing. That's changing right now.
In your own island.
Yeah. Well, you know,
three words. Alexandria Ocasio.
That's right.
I said two of the words. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's her last name again? Cortez.
Cortez Ocasio.
Cortez Ocasio.
I think it's Ocasio Cortez.
Ocasio Cortez.
Yeah.
But it is 3 words.
No, but that
she took on the establishment and won, and she's Latina.
Exactly. That whole
but we got
establishment.
3.5 million Puerto Ricans in New York City, more than in the island of Puerto Rico.
Nobody voted that election, and Crowley didn't even care because he was running against some newbie. So he didn't care to even get involved in the election, and he lost just because he didn't show up.
Well, that's the same thing that happened to.
I had a good opponent.
That's what happened to what's his name? The guy from Virginia, who was the minority. He was a majority.
Eric Cantor.
Eric Cantor. He fell asleep at the wheel and thought.
But now that guy, the Tea Party guy, beat him, is now taking on a strong woman's taking him on. That's going to be a battleground.
Exactly. Exactly. Look what's going on over there. Look,
it does make sense to get involved.
I think right now we have we're changing away from the establishment politician to having a show run in. I think we're moving away more and more from that. And what I like about it the most is that it's going down ballot, and it's going down ballot all the way down to district attorneys, and that to me is the most important.
That is because a lot of
minorities should be focusing on,
and they are focusing on. Philadelphia was the big victory. Other cities too. They're going after the prosecutors. Yeah, Ferguson,
Missouri flipped that seat. The guy who refused to prosecute the cop who shot Michael Brown lost his chair. He's gone.
Down ticket in Connecticut too is going to be interesting this coming week. Tuesday, August 14th is the primary. The Attorney General race has gotten hot. Now that's not district attorney. That's not a criminal case. That's civil. But it's the people's lawyer. You take on the big polluters. You take on the financial firms that rip you off, and you also give legal advice to govern the legislature. That's a very hot primary in both parties. It's 3-way in New Haven. We had a debate this week, Lavos and the Independent City and Law Tribune at Bethel Church. And it got pretty steamy. Not not nasty, but it was pretty impassioned. And the two leading candidates are William Tong and Chris Maddy. And in New Haven, statewide, Tong has a lot of advantages, a lot more institutional support. Maddy's got more fire, and he's a former prosecutor. Put John Rowland in jail, who's a Republican governor for corruption. But he also put a liberal Democrats allies in jail. So some liberal Democrats are using that against them, which is pretty hypocritical. But what did you think, Norma, at that debate? You were there asking questions. Maddy really went prosecutorial on Tong. He attacked him as not qualified. He attacked him for not supporting. What do you mean he's not
qualified?
Well, there's this. Actually, I don't think he's right. He's saying, Susan Bice couldn't run for Attorney General because she hadn't really handled any cases. Tong has handled a lot of cases, but that doesn't usually include going to court to argue them. But he'll do the negotiations and write the brief. So legally, he's fine. So Maddy's doing a cheap kind of thing on him there. But Maddy also was going after him on medical marijuana. Tong had voted against it before he voted for it 6 years ago. And he's not for legalizing it now for recreational use. Maddy, who also himself had not previously supported.
William Tong is not for legalizing?
No, not for recreational. Maddy is, but he doesn't have a record in the legislation. I found out it turned out he had previously said he wasn't before he became an AG candidate. But in any case, he's got in New Haven sort of the progressive support. He's got the Unite Here alders, but not Unite Here itself. And he's got a lot of the activists. I think he's got an uphill fight, but I think New Haven's going to be one of the grounds where he makes some headway. I'm hearing it at the ward level. People got excited because he does present stronger.
I like his fire.
I think it's very
and AG
similar.
is a fire position.
In terms of the presentation, is very similar to Ganim and Lamont. Okay, so you have Tong being Lamont, and you have Maddy being Ganim in terms of the fire that they have.
Can I say two big differences, though? Tong is incredibly substantive. Lamont's never been in government. Tong has written a lot of laws. He's done, he's done gun laws, financial fraud laws. He has a judiciary committee. Lamont's one, like Republican Democrat candidates who say, I'm in business, so I'm better than all you dumb legislators. They don't really give you any substance. And get the difference, obviously, between Maddy and Ganim is Maddy put corrupt people in jail, and his office put Ganim in jail.
Well, I think the state of Connecticut doesn't need a politician. The state of Connecticut needs someone who knows how to run this state. So that, let me tell you, this Connecticut is 52% of the people are leaving, while 47% are coming in. So we're losing the population constantly, and our businesses are really going. Something needs to happen.
Norma, it's interesting you bring that up.
Connecticut is bleeding big time, and we need somebody to stop that bleeding and heal.
Norma, that's a really interesting point you just brought up, because that's sort of what's underneath the substantive debates in a lot of these campaigns, and we're going to hear it more in November. And what the Republicans are saying, the reason it's bleeding is there's too many taxes, and we need to just cut taxes. Roland Lamar had a campaign event this week at Brick Oven Pizza where he made the opposite case. He said if you look at where these companies went, like GE and Aetna, they went to Massachusetts and New York where the taxes are higher. So to say they left because of taxes is actually false, and that what those other states did is they invested more to become the kind of places you'd want to go with the business, more in higher education so you have the workforce, more in cities and transportation so you can get around, although New York's having some problems these days. You can get around. They have denser housing instead of all these exclusive zoning, I guess, at least in New York. So that's going to be the real argument, Norma. I think you put your finger on it. In November, we're going to have an argument about why we've had a drain on population and what could turn around. And there are two very clear differences. You have the Republicans and some of the mealy-mouthed Democrats who are just intimidated into saying, oh, we'll just cut all your taxes. Like two of the Republican governor candidates say, we'll just eliminate the income tax. That's 40 to 50% of all the revenue that comes out of a $20 billion budget. And the Democrats, they're divided because some of them don't have the guts to take on another view that isn't so easy in a soundbite. But like what Lamar was saying was that we can raise the taxes on the wealthy in the state and still have lower income taxes than New York and Boston. And then we can use that money to make higher ed stronger here, to make transportation better in the state. And I think they got the argument.
I think we need to regionalize.
You're right. Good luck with that, because Harry type people, the stuff he listens to always says taxes. They're stealing your money.
Until you see they want to blow a hole through the deficit.
That's why people want to keep going. Everybody goes, oh, you're going to eliminate the income tax? Well, you have to structure the way you collect your revenues differently. You have states in our,
no, they're just talking about cutting government. They're saying cut it in half.
Don't have any income
tax. But they have other revenue.
People keep moving to Florida because there's no income tax in Florida.
But they have other revenue. They have incredible taxes on the people who spend half the year there.
But that's what we have to do here. We have to change our.
So how are you going to tax the people who spend 5 months a year here? You're going to tax them to make it up?
Paul. You're playing with one issue here. You know better than that. Well, at least I think you know better.
Okay, Harry. What other revenues do you see? Legalized marijuana, tolls?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. First, the marijuana is like a given, right?
I don't see why
you have a personal reason.
That. Right? I'm with you 100%. I don't see
that's a given.
That should be a given.
I don't think there should be like 100 toll booths
everywhere, but there should
be some.
Absolutely.
Definitely with people crossing from New York to Massachusetts.
Yeah. So Harry, you now have gotten us about 1/50th to the way to making up the money from the income tax.
See, I don't have a problem with marijuana, medicinal marijuana.
I'll give you.
But
you
everybody
a solution.
out there,
I'll sit down with the
how
budget.
are you going to function if
with
you're
a scalpel like Obama did and fix it?
Okay, so Norma's bringing up something that William Tong says. A number of the candidates in Doyle is also running for AG. They say, and some of the governor candidates say, we're not ready to go to recreational use of marijuana. Colorado has had legalized marijuana, and actually arrests of blacks and Latinos are up. They're actually getting them for the legal growing. And there are more accidents, which have not been definitively proven, more fatal car accidents. But there are other people say it's shot a lot of money into the economy. So Norma, what do you?
There might be more accidents, but there was also a population increase, an increase of drivers. So your numbers are going to go up. You can't run around with 5 year ago.
But one of the arguments is criminal justice that we heard the debate, and the argument that the facts have been that there are more arrests for blacks and Latinos. Than
but does that mean they're good arrests? Does that mean that they just all of a sudden decide to spike because they know people have marijuana?
So you're saying just make the cops not racist?
Yeah, let's try working on that. Let's work on the real issue. Is it that now that you know people are growing stuff, now all of a sudden you want to make this? No. They targeted. Is it targeted?
Well, Norma, what's your concerns about legal marijuana?
My concern is,
coming to work high.
I teach the 8-hour drug and alcohol class. Well, that's how people know it. Mm-hmm. Drug and alcohol class.
Is that part of
the Department of Motor Vehicle?
Right? Yeah.
For people to get their driver's license.
So you teach them how to get high and drunk?
No, I teach them the effects. The effects that drug has in your ability to function, to drive.
Yeah.
So my whole thing but then again, I'm sure that this argument that we're having now is the same argument that they had many years ago when they legalized alcohol. Mm-hmm. If you do it in a very responsible manner, it's okay. But then what happens to our kids or anyone that becomes addicted to it?
Okay, what happens to anyone who gets addicted?
It's the same with the alcohol and
exactly.
everything.
I mean, if you're gonna smoke responsible, I mean, you don't drink and go to work. It's unacceptable. You know, so the smoking and going to work, I mean,
or
just
driving. You don't drink and drive.
So, Norma, what about driving on marijuana? That's been a debate. Some people say it's fine to drive on marijuana. It's not the same thing as alcohol. Other people say it's not as bad as alcohol, but you are impaired.
But see, I think that question, only someone who has had the experience of smoking marijuana and having that high can say, they can answer that. I can't, because I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, never had that experience.
There has to be a better way of controlling it. We don't have to be exactly like Colorado. You know, everybody thinks, oh, we're going to be Colorado.
We can learn from Colorado.
What happened?
We can learn from Colorado and do it better.
Exactly. We can learn from Colorado. But the thing is that, of course, if you drive and you smoke some weed that is strong weed, you shouldn't drive. You know, there's just certain things. And then the thing is that weed goes from CBD all the way to high doses of THC.
You've learned a lot about this subject, haven't you, Harry?
Well, I have because I take the CBD portion, which isn't going to get me high, but I understand.
Do you feel you can drive when you're on it?
When on CBD, absolutely. I don't take it. If I know I'm going to drive, I won't take it just because I'm paranoid.
For how long, though? Like an hour, 2 hours?
No, I won't. I take it in the evening. Like, I'll smoke it in the evening and...
Oh, you smoke
But you do it for medicinal purpose.
Vapors. I do the vapor, right. I do the vape. I do it for medicinal purposes. It's CBD.
But you'll do it during the day, too?
I do it during the day. I'll do it here a couple of times during the day when the pain is really bad. But I'm not driving, and I have hours in between from when I go drive.
That's a very interesting point, because there were legislation, if I could speak.
Legislation.
Yeah, that they're trying to push forward to say that they're going to do breathalyzers to track marijuana. And the problem with that is, and it's a very interesting point, is that unlike alcohol, which goes out your system in a couple of hours, marijuana sits in your system for days.
So what happens with a guy like Harry who hasn't gotten high, but he's no THC, but it's in his system? And actually, some of the oil has a little bit of THC.
Right.
It has very little.
Will those stops, Joe, do you happen to know?
I don't know for
distinguish between the marijuana that got you high and didn't?
I would assume that it'll still come up.
What are they looking for? Are they looking for the THC in the test?
That's the thing. I don't know what kind of test they would have.
You're right.
Or cannabinoid or whatever you call it.
But, after a while, we're not going to have to worry about that, because right now, you know that they already have the cars out there that drive themselves. So,
That's true, right?
Smoking while riding. I wasn't driving.
Exactly.
I was in the back seat, and the steering wheel was not even in the car.
That's right. You open the door and all the smoke comes out. Yeah. Like Cheech and Chong.
Yeah. My goodness.
And it's not Cheech and Chong, but it's even better. We got Joe Ugly, Norma Rodriguez-Reyes, and Harry Droz here on Pundit Friday on WNHHFM 103.5, live stream at NewHaven.org. Hey,
he never mentions himself. You recognize that? It's almost like a given.
At the beginning, I say my name. Yeah.
Oh, only at the beginning?
Because I'm not as interesting as you guys. You guys are the show.
Sky.
That's true.
I'm the fire starter. You guys are the fire. But are you also the flyer? Because starting the end of December, once a week, they don't want Orthodox Jews to do this, so they're doing this only on Saturday, or any kind of religious Jews. From Tweed New Haven Airport on Saturdays, starting the end of December, but only on Saturdays, you'll be able to fly back and forth to Charlotte for a couple $100, and that connects you to 150 different connections. That's a real flight.
That's a real flight.
And they're able to do it with the current runway, which was interesting to me because I thought they couldn't get expanded service without expanding the runway.
But it's only one day a week.
Yeah, it's only Saturdays, which is weird. So that's what I'm saying. Religious Jews, we can't fly on Saturday.
So it's kind of racist, or?
Well,
so funny. It's not really anti-Semitic. It obviously didn't occur to them.
But no. But if it didn't occur to that don't, just because it's accidental discrimination, don't mean it's not discrimination.
Yeah, but I'm not aware of like Hindu holy days.
Yeah, but then if they do it on Sunday, what happens if they do it on Sunday?
Yeah.
Then all the Christians don't.
No, Christians could fly on Sunday.
Yeah, you can fly on Sunday.
They don't have the same rules unless you're Seventh-day Adventist. And the Seventh-day Adventists actually do Saturday like the Jews. They have the same rules we do that you can't.
So there you have it. So just because it's accidental,
and I think Jehovah's Witness also sad.
Well, I'm not upset about it because I don't fly that
I'm
much.
upset for you, okay?
Okay, thank you for being upset for me, Joe. Because I'm really not upset enough these days. But what do you think about this new flight?
No,
we've had all this argument about Tweed, about whether or not you expand the runway, whether or not there'll be flights. Then all of a sudden, without the expanded runway, we're hearing that 1 day a week they're going to try. See, I think underlying all those Tweed debates, they get really worked up and they're really good points on both sides. But in the end, I'm not convinced we would get the air service. Now, Tony Hart's point is saying maybe the conditions will change in the industry, and I see her point. Get ready, but smaller airports are hurting. Right. And we've tried Chicago, which was great, but it didn't last. We tried Washington, but it didn't last.
But those are not direct. Like that Charlotte hub is really.
Well, Chicago was big, Joe. Yeah. It was years ago, it was decades ago, but it was big.
Okay, but
and Washington too.
But I don't think that we had as many people working in sales and different, those traveling departments like we do now.
Because it's more of a Yale hospital economy.
But Chicago and Washington, those are all the same thing as if you're in Connecticut. Why don't they do the direct flights into the islands or to Puerto Rico?
That's the thing. Right? Who wants to make connections? I hate
connections are bad, but
it
does save.
But the thing is, if you don't have to go to Bradley, that's almost like making one of your connections.
I prefer to go to Bradley, or I go to JFK.
JFK though to get there is like it's such a hassle. You have so many unknowns with traffic, and you got to get from the parking lot to the damn terminal.
Yeah, when you do long term, forget about it. If you don't have a chauffeur, you don't have someone dropping you off. It's done. It all depends.
You could be stuck for 4 days on the Whitestone Bridge.
Well, yeah, pretty much. That's true. And here's another.
You got to get past LaGuardia to get to Kennedy.
I know. Then you ask yourself, can I take a connect over to Kennedy from here? But because it's down there on 670, the Van Wyck is always backed up. They've been doing construction there.
So you folks going to fly to Charlotte? So Harry's not because he likes direct. Norm or Joe, you going to take any Saturday flights?
2 weeks I'm going not out of here because if I knew this is
it's not until December.
There you go. So in 2 weeks I'm going out to Arizona. So yeah, I do from Bradley to Charlotte.
Bradley's pretty good, except we should be an easy way to get there.
The only thing that I don't like about this
airport is the port to go to.
Excuse me?
What's that? I'm sorry.
The Westchester Airport.
It's not bad.
No, it's not.
Really good to go.
You know, one of the things that I think that one of the things we don't have at this airport that works very good at Bradley is a hotel right near it or on campus. And the reason being is if you come in at a certain hour and you don't want to drive.
Yeah, and I've stayed there overnight to go early. Yeah. But we don't have enough volume here to support a hotel.
Well, we started with 1 day. Let's work on that.
I went to Tweed, to go to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. And
where'd you fly to first?
She had like 6 stops before she got on
that. Puerto Rico's Norma is good, and she wants to support.
So you went to Philly,
Tweed, right?
So you went to Philly first.
Why would
I
you
went
do
to
that?
Tweed, and I don't even remember where.
Well, then we had to go to Philly. That's the only place it goes.
Yes. Yeah. To Philly, and then from Philly we went to Puerto Rico because the flight it was very cheap.
Oh yeah.
But if you make a stop,
the connection.
Then it's really a lot more reasonable.
But you can lose
flights.
the connection, right? I'm always neurotic about losing that connection. I've had to run at times. I'm not a good runner.
But you know what? First of all, a lot of these small airports, the traffic isn't big. They don't have a lot of people,
right?
And so they're very strict. Do you know that I had a brand new tube of toothpaste?
They make you throw it out.
That I hadn't even. Yeah, they made me throw it out.
Because it was bigger than that 3 ounce.
Do you know when I went through security and the TSA at Tweed once, and this was years ago, I have a prayer phylacteries I use. They're called the fill-in that you wrap around with a little box. They took it out of my bag and were looking at it like it was a suspicious thing for quite a while and were giving me the suspicious eye because I had prayer phylacteries as though this was some kind of holding me up getting to the plane. Yeah, really
this must have been since 9/11 that you did this fly out.
Yeah, it was in February, I think.
It was this year?
Yeah, in February.
Oh, okay. I thought this was a while back, a few years back.
Okay. I did a connecting flight to Vegas. I had to connect in Chicago, and
O'Hara is the worst.
It just
O'Hara is terrible.
How did you do in Vegas?
Huh?
How'd you do in Vegas?
Vegas was fun.
You made money?
No, I don't gamble. So
what were you doing in Vegas if you don't gamble?
Oh, I took my wife on an anniversary to Vegas.
Oh, nice. What'd you do?
We renewed our vows in
the little chapel there?
In the Elvis Chapel, the Graceland Chapel.
Graceland Chapel, yeah.
Yeah, my wife loves that stuff, so we did that. It was fun.
See shows? You go to shows?
Yeah. Well, did we do? No.
What do you do in Vegas besides the chapel?
It's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of tours.
Vegas.
We did the dam.
Yeah, the Hoover Dam.
The Hoover Dam.
Yeah, that's a big
Grand
tour.
Canyon, and then we went to
Grand Canyon. That's far away.
Grand Canyon.
No, it's not that far.
I want to do that. That's on my bucket list.
Oh, the
Grand
north
Canyon.
side.
Yeah,
Okay.
Have you been?
No. Didn't you walk out? It's so funny. We were supposed to go to the Grand Canyon when we were in Arizona. End up got to Sedona, and they were going to take a flyover. Got to Sedona, it's like, man, look at these sunsets. We're not going anywhere. Sedona sunsets are like the best you ever seen.
Well,
why am I becoming that chamber? Let's go.
No, that's cool,
I'm
but you're not going anywhere. Does that mean you haven't been to the new LL Bean on Chapel Street?
Oh, that is so true.
There's a big new 2-story
store
store as part of a 6-story building Yale built on an old parking lot, former surface parking lot on Elm Street in the Broadway district. It opened last week. I have to tell you, it's a pretty nice store. I went in there. I actually bought a pair of jeans.
For special parking?
That was for the place next to it. They wanted a little rule not to have as many spaces, which every development in New Haven is doing now.
Park in the middle.
Yeah, every development in New Haven. There's a consensus in New Haven that we have 2 strict rules about how much parking you need. If we want to be a city that's busy with a lot of stuff in it, you shouldn't have to have so many parking spaces.
Well, which brings to the next level. I mean, it does look nice from outside.
Have you guys been in?
No.
Norm, are you? Do you care that an LL Bean
As a
opened?
matter of fact, no. My sister, had the brand new sandals. Okay. And she asked me if I, and I says, let me look at them. When I saw them, I says, no, honey, those are not my style. I wouldn't even wear those sandals, even if I'm dead. I don't want those sandals on.
How come?
Because the style, it's just too bulky for me. I like more feminine stuff.
Oh my!
Well, that's just that's just this generation.
That's true. They are outdoorsy. I saw no stiletto heels in the whole store.
Paul. I don't know. I go through this thing with Broadway. And I have this inner thing like I can't support the shops that many over there, and
they're not for us.
Because it feels like if it's downtown Yale, and it annoys me.
It's not just downtown Yale. They also want you supposed to have long, blonde, straight hair from the shoreline with a bank account that's at least in the high 6 figures for the name of my shop. But those stores don't do well. I actually was, and they go out of business all the time. They get subsidized by Yale because they're snots. But I think the LL Bean thing is interesting. It's not cheap, but it's not expensive. It's like quality clothing that you'd actually want to buy, the kind of thing you'd normally drive to something. I bought a pair of jeans.
You did?
Yeah. Now that's as much as I buy in a year. I bought them for the fall. I buy 1 pair a year, and then I wear them all year. And I was just kind of psyched that there was a place downtown you can go to actually buy a real something.
What kind of jeans? LL Bean jeans or
is
just
they were
really
LL Bean.
downtown?
They're LL Bean.
Is that really downtown though?
Yeah.
What's that?
Is it really downtown?
I think so.
That's all downtown district.
You can walk around.
But it's downtown.
But in any case, retail. In any case, the
the
conventional wisdom was for decades that basic commerce, not the snooty stores they have, or not the fun stuff you find only in the city, to actually just buy stuff you had to go to the suburbs. And I thought LL Bean, unlike some of those other stories they put there, like the olive oil store they did for like $90 for an inch, a little thimble of olive oil. They actually have a real store there of something that's like decent to buy that you need.
So the jeans were reasonably priced?
Yeah, they weren't cheap. They were $50.
Are they more expensive than Trailblazers were?
Oh, I don't think so, no.
Okay, so...
It's like what I buy online. I try to buy online as cheap as I can, but that they'll last for the year.
Okay. But I'm saying,
I don't want to spend $100 or anything for pants.
They didn't sell jeans at Trailblazer?
I don't know. I've never been in Trailblazer.
See, there it is.
It looked like that
was a low...
That's a hiking place. I'm not an outdoorsy guy.
Okay, but it might have... But have you ever been in there?
No.
Okay, so then you can't talk.
So you guys aren't sharing what I was sharing. That unlike most cases, I'm not excited. No. In most cases, I don't get excited that the store opens, right? But in this case, like I would like to see New Haven move to getting a Marshalls back, because Marshalls actually are back in cities.
Where are they getting Marshalls?
They're not. I'm saying I'd like to see. No, I'm saying I'd like to see them get down. How Marshalls gone back in cities. All the stores went out of cities,
right?
And I like that we have our special kind of commerce, not necessarily the snooty boutiques, but like, the good restaurants and the art stuff. That's all cool, right? But I think you can't really buy stuff. You got to go suburbs because the parking's easy there, and that's okay. But now that if people have moved back to cities who are like empty nesters or young singles want to live in cities now, I'd like to see us, and like I don't think I agree working class people need to go to the suburbs to buy stuff. Maybe that's okay. Maybe that's the role. But this gave me hope this week that maybe New Haven can get in the ring to get just stuff you'd regularly buy that it isn't junky or isn't too expensive.
Correct. That's the most important part. It isn't junky. Look, dollar stores, they're great. Whatever you could.
And we should have those. Dollar stores are good.
You could have those, but I don't care to see 2 and 3 of them within a 2-block radius.
Yeah, I'm saying let's have that mix.
No, I think.
And Marshalls is for the same customers as the dollar store.
Even if they have what they call.
I don't go to Marshalls. I mean, I've been there when I had kids.
Even if they have like the what they call it, the micro or the city Targets. Those small.
Yeah, on Marshalls, so they're doing city versions. Of this.
I would love to see that downtown New Haven because of the quality. It's a lot better. If you're gonna end up spending, you're gonna blow your check because something you buy your kid today at the dollar store fall apart in 2 days or 3 days. You're gonna be back buying,
right.
and it's like buying an old car.
Yeah.
Where you're just pumping money into the doggone thing for no reason.
Right. The economics is such that if you're working class or middle class in New Haven or poor, you do have to go with your kids or in yourself, either buy online, which is cool,
right.
But the problem with buying clothes online is you don't try them on, so you have to send them back much.
Correct.
Because I must fit much better than the jeans I bought the last bunch of years online. Or you have to drive to Magic Mile or one of the malls in the suburbs.
But it's also generational. See, like the baby boomers and older, they used to like to buy stuff that would last them for 50 years, 100 years.
Yeah,
they don't have those anymore.
But these millennials, even if they buy good quality stuff, they throw it away within a year, and they want something. They want the newest thing out there.
But that's usually all young people.
These millennials. What's wrong with kids these days? Why can't they be like we were, perfect in every way?
No, young people work with style. Young people work with style. If it's something they don't like tomorrow, that's right. It's the end. It's all about style when you're that age.
Or mouthwash. New Haven has invented the new mouthwash, herbal mouthwash. Bill Kwan, I don't think I'm saying his name right. He's from China. He has a boutique on Whitney Avenue. He has developed. He says mouthwash is too chemical tasting. He's invented mouthwash that has sea salt with honeysuckle, green tea with aloe vera, fruit punch with dandelion, and coconut lily tough root.
I'll tell you why I think that might work here in New Haven.
Well, he's selling it beyond, too.
Well, I'll tell you why it would work here in New Haven.
Nature Gene.
I'm getting tired of smelling bong breath.
That's right.
I'm getting tired.
And you know what one of his first customers selling it is? The Smoker's Shop in Orange.
Boom. There we go.
Joe Ugly is tired of bong breath, even though you want to make money selling them the rolling papers.
Does not give you bong breath.
Rolling papers don't? Or is your rolling paper going to have this herbal mouthwash in it to counteract the effects?
We probably can make that work.
Joe, we got a business plan.
He'll throw in a mint leaf.
That's right.
Well, folks,
papers are sold with mints.
Thanks for joining us today in Dateline New Haven. Remember to vote Tuesday, August 14th.
Yes, please.
Thanks to the best pundits around, Norm Rodriguez, Ray, Harry Droz, and Joe Ugly, and the other 2 best pundits around, Babs Rolls, Ivy, Marquisha Riggs. We missed you. We love you. We'll see you next week. Yes. We're going to take it out with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It Feel to Be Free from this group CD, A Plea for Peace. Now, we know what it's like to be free. We just got to remember to book our flight. Book it and fly free with us all weekend long at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.